states that every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting. Declining outside contributions will now pass the basket. This is a weekly STEP meeting. Our format is as follows. A speaker is asked to talk for approximately 25 to 30 minutes on the STEP of that week, followed by discussion or questions until 7 o'clock. You can find these weekly meetings on our YouTube page, the Conscious Contact Speaker Group of Doylestown. Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe, and share. That brings us to the speaker portion of the meeting. On this day, in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, what's today's date? January 10th? January 10th, 2022. The Monday night, 6 p.m. Stay Alive Literature and Step Group at St. Paul's Lutheran Church. Tonight's speaker is Dave, and he will be sharing his experience on Step 2. Please help me welcome Dave.
Thank you. My name's Dave. I'm a recovered alcoholic.
Dave.
I'm going to share about how my life was a complete train wreck in the beginning and how I went through these steps and how my life is transformed. Growing up, I came from pretty much an abusive household. My dad was in and out of jail. He was alcoholic. My mom was in and out of mental hospitals because she couldn't deal with it. And I remember growing up, like I wanted to be like my father, like he was my role model. His alcoholism, he was a good father. He was more like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So I would come home from school and I would not know, like, should I hide under the bed or should I go give my dad a hug? You know, and there was times that, like, the cops were always called to my house and, like, my dad would throw my mom down flights of stairs and she wouldn't press charges. And that went on until I was, like, 6, 7 years old. And then one night, my mom woke me up 4 a.m. and she's like, your stuff's packed, we're going. So we left in the middle of the night. We were in Brooklyn. We went to New Jersey to stay with my grandparents. A week later, I was outside playing, and I remember my dad's like, come here. I'm like, you know, like my mom had a restraining order against my father, and he tried kidnapping me. And I remember my dad had my one arm, my mom had my other arm, and they're like pulling me. And that just like, you know, my dad, I was 16, he passed. He died in prison from cirrhosis of the liver. So me growing up, I was riddled with fear. I was scared of my own shadow. In kindergarten, I just didn't, my whole life I wanted to be okay. And even in kindergarten, I wasn't okay. I didn't feel like a normal kid. I felt less than. Like my mom had this blue car, and this is funny. I forgot, like the car was like brand new, like $7,000. I forgot the name of it, but it was called the Blue Bomber. So every time she'd drive me to school, I would be like laying back in the back seat because I was so embarrassed. Like other kids, you know, the mom and dad had Cadillacs, Hondas, Mercedes, and I'm like driving in the $7,000 Blue Bomber. So like my whole life, I just felt less than, and I'm going to talk about a little bit about my alcoholism because I feel alcoholism is a family disease. I feel I had alcoholism before I ever had a drink. I had my first drink, I was like 6 or 7. My dad gave me a shot of Jack Daniels, but I really remember my grandparents left, everyone left one day, and I invited my friends over and I got the key to the liquor cabinet, which was probably a bad mistake. And I drank and I blacked out, but I remember, the one thing I did remember is all that fear, all that discomfort, all that less than. I felt great. Like for me, alcohol was a solution in my life because without alcohol, I just didn't know how to fit in. And, you know, other substances are a big part of my story. I probably went to like, I would say anywhere from 12 to 13 treatment centers. And I'd go to these treatment centers, and after like 1 or 2, like I was kind of good in groups. Like I kind of knew what to say to get the counselors off my butt. You know, like I would run groups, and I would be the first one that would leave that treatment center And I had no desire to stay sober. Like, at the end, I wanted to stay sober, but I wasn't willing to do the step work to get sober. I wasn't willing to, they told me just go to meetings, just make a lot of meetings. So I would go make a lot of meetings, and then I would sit in these rooms without a solution, without any treatment, and I would feel I just didn't know how to fit in. I just felt like, I remember I was at a meeting once, and everyone knew that I didn't talk to people. I sat in the back. I judged everyone in a room. I thought everyone was full of crap. So I really, I just didn't believe that this stuff would work. I didn't believe that AA worked until I met some guy, and he said, when are you going to stop with this? Like, when are you going to surrender? And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm going to meetings. He's like, no, that's not what I mean. When are you going to surrender to this program? When are you going to go through the steps? When are you going to get a sponsor? And I was like, I didn't know. I wasn't really beat. But then, as time went on, I was like willing to go back out. Like, I was more willing to go back out than I was willing to go get help. And the guy came up to me one day. He's like, listen, I want you to come to my house, and we're going to go through this book. And I was just like, I was broken, man. I felt so broken inside that I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. He's like, are you willing to go to any length? And I'm like, yeah, man. Because I was to the point, like, I made meetings, but I felt like killing myself. I was to the point that I felt so low about myself. It scared me. And I went through this book with him, and his name was Jimmy A. Design for Living. Now, the first part of my recovery, I would just go to meetings, but it wasn't solution-based. It wasn't big book. It was just a room full of people just telling me about their day, or telling me, what's going on with their marriage. And I was like, this is not for me, until I went to the Design for Living group. It was in Wall, and we met every Sunday. It was my first home group, and it was 250 people. And wow, man, I thought I was like in a different world. Everyone's carrying big books, smiling, laughing. And I'm like, this is so different. Like, I'm like, but I wanted what these people had. I really wanted, my whole life, I just wanted to be okay. You know what I mean? I just wanted to be okay with who I was. So me and this guy, Jimmy, read this book. We went through these steps pretty rapidly. First, the step one is like, yes, I'm powerless over alcohol. But once I come into the rooms of AA, I'm untreated, and I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to act. So my life was unmanageable. Like, when I came into AA, my life was so unmanageable that I was so ready to drink again, That I realized that, like, listen, alcohol was a solution to my life until it turned its back on me and kicked my teeth in. So I had to go through this work. And he said to me, we went through step one. I realized my problem was in my mind. My problem was in my body. And I knew that if I didn't find some type of power in my life, I was going to drink again. There was no ifs, ands, and buts about it. So he's like, how do you feel about God? And I was like, well, I don't really feel anything about God, because I really don't believe in God. Because if there was a God, my dad wouldn't have died in prison. My mom wouldn't have had a nervous breakdown. My brother wouldn't have overdosed. My grandparents would still be alive, and I would be living in this Candyland type of world that I'm happy and this and that. And he said to me, he's like, how come you're still alive? And I'm like, I don't know. He's like, so you're telling me on your power, you wanted to kill yourself. I overdosed probably 2-3 times in my life. I was 16. I was in a coma for a month and a half, and I told him that. He's like, okay, so you don't believe in this power, but who woke you up when you were in a coma? You were in a coma for a month and a half. And I woke up one day, they read me my last rites. I woke up in a hospital room with every one of my family there crying. And I just woke up like, you know, that's a power greater than myself, you know, because I shouldn't be here sharing my hope with anyone, you know. So step 2 for me is about willing to believe that there is a power. There is a power. And through my life and through these steps, the power just keeps growing. My relationship with this power keeps growing. It's like anything. If I have a plant and if I don't water it, it's going to die. Same thing with my recovery. Like I wake up every morning and the first thing I do is not get coffee. The first thing I do is have that relationship with my higher power. Talk to my higher power. As I wake up, I say thank you for another day. You know, I fall short. I make mistakes. I'm a human being. But my relationship with this power has developed throughout my recovery. You know, my sobriety date is June 2nd, 2010. And when I first came in this program, I was willing that this power would change my life because I saw it in people. I saw this program working in people's lives. Even though I probably didn't believe it would work in my life. And as the time went on and through these steps and taking other people through these steps, God is good, man. Like my life is amazing. You know, I got a beautiful wife. I have a job. I have a bank account. Now, if you would have told me 12 years ago that I would have half the things I have in my life, I would be like, nah, you know, that can't happen to me. That insecurity that I had my whole life, I don't have that anymore. You know, and it all has to do with believing in a power greater than myself. Because if I don't get connected on a daily basis, my life's a mess. I'm going to be short with people at work. I'm going to be rushing around. I'm going to take everything the wrong way. If someone says something to me, I'm going to be like, you know, against the world. It's like a cell phone. If you don't plug your cell phone in, it's going to die. For me, if I don't plug into that source on a daily basis, my life's a mess, you know? And I know the days that I don't pray and I'm in a rush, and the days that I do pray and I get connected to that power, it's like night and day. It's like such a difference in my day. I'm able to be happy, be able to be selfish, you know, because the book says lack of power is my dilemma. So if I don't have power in my life, you know, things don't go good. And sobriety time, like when I first got into this program, I would be like, yeah, you know, I'm celebrating. And, you know, with this COVID stuff, like I didn't get my 10-year coin and I didn't get my 11-year coin, and hopefully I'll get my 12-year coin. But I thought it was all about collecting chips. I thought it was all about looking good and not living good. Like anyone could come up here and sound good and portray that their life is perfect, but guess what? My life is far from perfect. But I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to eat out of a dumpster when I leave here tonight. I'm not going to be going to a homeless shelter and getting thrown out because I can't pass a urine test. Now, I'm going to tell you how I really got connected to God. My mom, in 2006, she had a brain aneurysm. And she had surgery, and she was in a hospital on and off for like 6 months. Now, my mom was everything to me. Like, my dad was not in the picture. He was gone. So I really didn't have anyone except my mom, and I saw my mom deteriorate. Like, I mean, deteriorate in like a month and a half's time. You know, she went to the surgery. You know, the doctor said, you know, the chances of you surviving this surgery are great. So she had the surgery. Thank God she survived, but she was paralyzed from the waist down. Now, I was out there using, and my whole thing of life. I was so selfish that I said, how is this happening to me? Like, why is this happening to me? While my mom is suffering, my mom's in a wheelchair, it's still all about me, you know? So she called me up one day, I went to work and I went to walk the dog. I hung up the leash, my mom was in a wheelchair, she told me to come here, she gave me a kiss on the cheek, and she went like that and died in my arms. Died in my arms. And from that point, I was just like, I just didn't even know what to do, man. I didn't want to continue on in life. And for the first time in my life, I dropped to my knees and I said, God, I'm done. Like, I'm done. I can't do this crap no more. I went to my mom's funeral. I swore I wouldn't do anything. I didn't drink. And then the minute I got back from the funeral, I got to open up the mail and I had a credit card with like a PIN number. You apply for a PIN number and they say you can get a certain amount of money. So I took that money, I went to a hotel room, I had a notebook, I had a loaded gun, and I had this is AA, so I'm not gonna tell you what I had, but could you imagine what I had? And I didn't want to leave that hotel room alive. I didn't. Like, my goal was to do as much alcohol and other things, and I would not leave. So I think on the third day, I went to splash water in my face. I was a wreck, eyes red, bulging out, like I was a complete mess. I splashed water in my face, and on everything, I saw my mom, clear as day, like I'm seeing Ron. And she had a tear running down her face and said, Dave, please go get help. And that was it. I flushed everything. I called my old counselor. I said, Nicole, I need help. She's like, well, I can't get you in this program for another month. I said, Nicole, I am not going to leave this hotel room alive. I need help. She's like, okay, I'm going to put you on a list. You'll get in this program in a month. You're going to go to Patterson. You're going to go into the men's shelter. Okay, cool. I was willing to go to any length to get sober this time. I went to the program. It was an 18-month program, and I did what they said. I got out of this program. I met a girl, because anything that's going to make me feel good on the inside might not be good for me, but I met some girl, and what did I do? I drank again. I thought it was a good idea. Let's move to Maryland. I just met this girl from rehab. She was kind of cute. She really loved me. It was just like, wow, love connection. I moved to Maryland with her. I got a job at the mall, cleaning up the grounds. She was a waitress, and every night I'd be 3 in the morning. Our shift was done at 1. So 1 + 1 = 2. She was cheating on me. I left her. And I had my cell phone, and I dialed my old halfway house. How you butt dial someone? And the guy answered. I'm like, who's this? He's like, it's John from the halfway house. And I'm like, out of the blue, I'm like, I need a bed. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, I need a bed. He's like, come to the halfway house. I went to the halfway house. And I went on this journey of recovery. And this was June 1st of 2010. And I've not felt the need to pick up a drink or a drug. I went through these steps thoroughly. I got honest. I was willing to go to any length. We all get in this recovery program, and your sponsor's going to be like, are you willing to go to any length? I had nothing left, man. I had nothing left, because every time I tried, every rehab I went to, every detox I went to, if I had a stack of Bibles and they said, do you want to stay sober? I wanted to stay sober every time, but I couldn't stay sober. Why? Lack of power is my dilemma. I cannot do this alone. Me, by myself, without a power greater than myself, I'm going to fail every time. And I'm going to be so irritable, discontent, and miserable about my life Either I'm going to end up in a mental institution, or I'm going to drink again, or I'm going to try suicide. And I tried all them things. No jails kept me sober. Mental institutions never kept me sober. No rehab ever kept me sober. Because once I get separated from alcohol and drugs, my mind's going to be like, that's not that bad, dude. You got 30 days. You're good. Like, you don't got to do this stuff no more. You know, and even to this day, my ego's like, I'm going to call Ron. I got a flat tire. Frank has diarrhea. I can't make it. Get someone else. But this program's not about me. Like, you think I like sitting up here, sharing my experience, strength, and hope? Because I feel like nobody wants to hear a damn thing that David's got to say. I feel that, whatever. You know what I mean? You guys could get sober on your own. But no. I need you more than you need me. You know what I mean? You guys keep me sober more than I keep you sober. So, I mean, I appreciate it. Like, damn, man, this road of recovery is such a beautiful thing. You know, I can't even, the gratitude that I have for life today, you know, I have problems. Like, not every day in my life is a good day, but guess what? I don't got to drink over it. I don't got to act. I don't have to be selfish over it. I can think about somebody else other than myself today. You know what I mean? I could be a good husband, be a good co-worker. Does anyone want to stay late today? Okay, I'll stay late. You know what I mean? Does anyone want to come to Doylestown and speak on Monday night at 6 o'clock? Yeah, you know what? I'll speak, you know what I mean? This program is about doing everything you don't want to do. And once you do it, you feel great about doing it. You know what I mean? But my ego's always going to say, dude, no one wants to hear from you. You're not that important. You're less than everyone. But my God wants me to say, you know what, David, go speak. You know what I mean? Go share your experience, strength, and hope. Because that's all we have is our journey. Like, my journey might be different than Ron's journey or Nick's journey. But guess what? This isn't a race. We all go at our own pace to keep going and trudging along this road to happy destiny. I'm alcoholic. I cannot manage my own life. I need a power greater than myself to restore me to sanity. My sanity, for me, still ain't really there, but I'm trying. It really comes at step 10. This ain't about step 10. But with step 2, it's like you're willing to believe that this program works because you see it in other people. You see that other people's lives have changed. I never see it, but other people will be like, Dave, what happened to you? You're like, you look different, you know? I remember when I did my 4-step, people would come to me after I did my 4th and 5th, and they're like, Dave, what happened to you? I'm like, I don't know. You did your 4th and 5th step, huh? Yep. Like, the light bulb gets lit, and fear, like, I hated this. Like, I hated the big book. They used to have these big book meetings. I'd be like, you know what, man? Everyone's life is so perfect, you know? And I'm like, never big book, big books, big book. The hell with these people. They're so full of it, you know? But as I go on in my life, this is the only thing that changed my life. This is the only thing that's ever worked in my life, going through these steps, going through these first 164 pages, and having had a spiritual awakening as a result of this book. No rehab, no jail, no mental institution, no girl, no tattoo, no chain, no pair of Jordans, none of that. I ain't gonna curse. None of that stuff got me better. The only thing that got me better is me getting out of my way, and having God transform me into the person I am today. Thank you. This is where everyone stares at me, right?
Yes. All right. Great job, Dave. Thank you so much. Please limit your sharing to 3 minutes. Please keep your shares related to the step. If you feel like drinking, or if you have had a drink today, please see me or speak to someone after the meeting. We ask that you please refrain from the use of profanity. We are in a church and on a spiritual journey. And we have a nice way closed. All right, it's your part of the meeting.